You're so gloomy. We don't need you here. My boss, a woman who didn't know much and didn't care to learn, belittled me. I sighed, looking at her smug face. Well then, I quit, I said, and left the company. Months later, I ran into that awful woman again. Did you ever find a company that would hire someone as useless as you? She mocked. Yes, actually, your major client, I replied. Her face went pale as she realized what I meant. My name is Scott Ritter, and I'm a salesman at a food and beverage company. I'm over 43 years old and work in sales, but in a different way. I don't go out for client visits. I just work on the computer at my desk by the window. Good morning, Scott. Good morning, Paul. Scott, we're going out for drinks after work today. Would you like to join us? Thank you for the invite, but I have other plans. Got it. I didn't talk much with other employees and spent most of my time in front of the computer. Everyone else was younger, which partly explained why I didn't fit in with their conversations. Scott always dresses so neatly right. His clothes are always ironed perfectly, and his shirts are crisp. And he smells good too. It's not perfume, maybe fabric softener. I wonder what brand he uses. I noticed them glancing my way and chatting a few times, but I never asked what they were talking about. I just kept working. Time to clock out already. Good work today. Yes, good work today. Scott always leaves right on time, so we know when it's time to go. In a way, he's like an alarm clock for us. I left work on time every day. Sometimes I had places to go after work, and sometimes I just went straight home. Would you like to join our company? Yes, thank you. I'd love to. I joined this company about 5 years ago. Before that, I worked at a different beverage company, but I was approached to join this one. I never stayed long at one company, moving around in the beverage industry. Scott, how have things been since you started? Fine, no major issues. Everything is going smoothly for now. That's good to hear. We have high hopes for your work. Thank you. It was a company executive who had approached me. He had heard about me and reached out. It seems this company often recruits from outside. Well, Scott, do you have a moment? Sure, I'm available. I wanted to ask you about sales strategies. If it's something I know, I'll send you the information you need. Thank you. I'll email you later. I'd like to learn more about Company D and a few other things, said Pamela. Got it, Scott. You're the same as always, she replied, understanding my usual straightforward approach. Just then, Michael approached as the younger colleagues were chatting with me. Michael Phelps is the only colleague close to my age in sales, and he's the one who brought me to this company. That's right, thanks for your help with that issue. I'll be counting on you again, I said. Got it. Also, the client wants to go out for drinks next time. Understood. Michael and I had known each other before joining this company, so we could communicate with just a few words. As the only other senior employee, he handled a lot of different tasks. Michael is attentive and single, which makes him quite popular. Let's keep up the good work today, he said, as we enjoyed another peaceful day in the sales department with no major issues. Nice to meet you. I'm Laura Sanko, and I'll be the new department head starting today. She introduced herself when she was transferred to our team. Laura came from a larger affiliated company, and it seemed she had more experience from her previous position. Is that so? Maybe it's a matter of power, someone commented. Who knows, but she's our boss now, so let's hope we can work well together. I sighed quietly as I observed Laura. She was wearing bright red clothes that didn't seem very professional, with heavy makeup and a strong perfume that reached my desk. Her attitude was confident and assertive. Listen to what I say. I'm in a higher position than you, she said, making her authority clear. The thought of her being the boss made me uneasy. Hey, who prepared this document? She asked. Yes, that was me. Read this document, and the client you're handling will now be my responsibility. Am I really changing this now? What's wrong with this document? Figure it out yourself. Look, it's easier to read this way, but in our company, We usually just do as I say, she insisted, making sure everyone in the sales department followed her lead because of her background in a big corporation. She's really the worst. She's all friendly with the young men and Michael, but she's tough on us women, a colleague whispered. I'm just trying to stay out of her way, I replied. It's tough, but let's support each other and get through this. Everyone followed her instructions reluctantly to avoid unnecessary trouble. Sighing, Michael asked, "What's wrong?" "It's about Laura, our manager, as he invited me out for drinks on a rare day off." He sighed heavily, looking genuinely troubled. "Laura has been really on my case lately. Every day she's asking me out." "I see, I get it," I replied, understanding his situation. It seemed she often invited him out for drinks or meals. Michael looks young for his age, so Laura didn't seem to mind the age difference. He's not comfortable with romantic relationships and has his own reasons for staying single, so being pursued like this was a real burden for him. When I talk to female colleagues, Laura scolds them. That's troublesome. Exactly. Michael agreed, clearly struggling with Laura's behavior too. He sighed wearily. Upper management isn't much help either. Yeah, I tried talking to them once, and they were pretty indifferent about it. It's really affecting me. The whole atmosphere in the sales department has changed. Who knows what will happen next? As expected, the sales department went from being peaceful to tense. Everyone was trying not to get on Laura's bad side. "Hey, you," she called out. "Yes. Don't just sit at your computer all day. Get out and work." "I am working, though. I have told you to go out and visit your clients. Since I've been here, I haven't seen you leave the office even once. And yet, you're always dressed up." That's when Laura started targeting me. She glanced at my computer, clearly not understanding what I was doing. "You're not doing any work, are you?" "I am doing my job." She thought I was slacking off. "Besides, you hardly talk to anyone in the office. You just say hello and nothing more." "Everyone is busy, so I try not to disturb them," I explained, preferring to communicate through email and chat. That's also how I heard about her rumors and complaints. "Really, you're so gloomy. You're in sales, but you're glued to your computer, not going out for field work, not interacting with other staff. And you're always dressed in mismatched clothes, leaving right on time. Are you taking your job lightly?" Laura seemed to really dislike me, constantly picking on me and making snide remarks. "Scott, are you okay? Laura was hard on you today, right?" "I'm fine," I replied. "She's focused on me right now, so it's been easier for the rest of you. Let me know if you need anything. We're here to help." "Thank you, everyone." The sales staff noticed what was happening and showed their concern. They often intervened by saying things like, "There's work to do," or "A customer is here," to pull her away. Aside from Laura, I had good relationships with others. "What's with that manager? She complains about Scott leaving on time, but she leaves early too." "It's true. I saw her at a bar the other day." "Me too. She was drinking a lot." "How much does she spend on drinks?" "Apparently, she was drinking with business partners, and it's all being paid for with company money." "Really?" More and more, the talk about her wasn't about her work skills, but rather unpleasant rumors. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine. If her bothering me gives you all a chance to work, then it's okay. I'm really sorry if anything happens. I'll help out, and you know what's going on. You've changed jobs a lot, haven't you? If you ever decide to leave, could you let me know?" I nodded, and Michael said, "Thank you," and walked away. Unlike me, Michael has always been the type to stay in one place, but it seemed this situation was making him reconsider. A few months after Laura arrived, there was trouble. The sales department's expenses had increased, leading to orders for cost-cutting. "Why have the expenses gone up? Now we're told to cut costs. It's ridiculous," Laura complained. But the rise in expenses was her fault. Her excessive spending on entertainment was causing the increase. Everyone knew she was frequently out drinking. "I don't want to cut back on entertainment expenses. If they're cut, I won't be able to drink as much. It's your fault, Scott. Why me? You're not working. Having you here is a waste of expenses and salary. You're stealing company money. I was being unfairly accused. I was just doing the job I was assigned. She didn't understand it, but I believed my work was important. To cut costs, I'll start by cutting you. What a mess. You're so gloomy. We don't need you. Pack up your things and get out of the company. Is that an order from the boss? Yes, you're fired, she said with a smirk. I just sighed. Then I quit. Don't ever come back to this office. Getting rid of an incompetent employee will save us money. Without much resistance, I packed my things and left the company. Are you really quitting? Why so suddenly? Laura said I was fired. Well, if she said so, maybe there's no other way. Even the executives couldn't stop Laura's actions, given her connections to a larger company. It seemed inevitable. That day, I resigned and left the company. Scott, please come back to our company. We need you here. We'll talk to the manager, read numerous messages on my phone, all begging me to return. But I had been fired, and there was nothing I could do about it. If you're not here, I don't know how to proceed with our business strategy, a female colleague said cheerfully over the phone. I appreciate everyone's words, but I've been let go. Don't say that, she replied, but as much as I felt for my trusting colleagues, there wasn't much I could do. I already had my sights set on another company, so I stuck to my decision and said goodbye to my colleagues. Well then, Scott, are you okay? Pamela asked. Actually, I was about to contact you. After reaching out to a certain company, I immediately got a call from Michael. He had been out on sales visits and was unaware of what had happened recently. I heard from everyone, are you really quitting, Mark? Michael asked. That's right. Do you have another job lined up? Yes, fortunately. Scott, we've known each other since our previous job, but I have a favor to ask. I've already talked about you. Michael, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. A few months after leaving that company, I found myself at a high-end restaurant for a business meeting. Honestly, the person I was meeting today was a bit difficult to deal with. As I waited at the entrance, I heard a familiar voice. Well, long time no see. Laura Sanko appeared, smirking. Oh look, it's the gloomy window seat guy, she said in a condescending tone. What are you doing here? Surely not eating, right? You couldn't possibly afford a meal here, could you? She mocked. Did you ever find a company that would hire someone as useless as you? She continued, clearly unaware of my current situation. Well, actually, it can't be anything important, right? She interrupted, not giving me a chance to explain. She continued with her mocking laughter. What would a useless non-worker like you be doing at such a high-end restaurant? Are you part of the cleaning staff? It's just like you to try to look cool. It doesn't suit you at all. I'm not part of the cleaning staff. I'm here for work today. Work, huh? That's a word for people who actually work hard, like me, not for incompetence like you, she sneered. Today I came here as a sales manager for a business meeting, not like you, who just sits at a computer. As I grew tired of her endless chatter, someone approached us. Hey, sorry I'm late. I've been waiting for you, Director Charles. It was Charles, the director from the major restaurant chain Bloom Dining. I shook hands with Charles, and Laura suddenly bowed her head. Director Charles, thank you very much for your valuable time today. Seeing that it was Director Charles, Laura quickly started to butter him up, showing just how important this business meeting was for her company. Hi, Laura. Looking forward to working together. But really, if both of you had arrived earlier, you could have waited inside, Charles said to me with a friendly smile. Laura looked confused. What? Scott is involved in this business, she muttered under her breath, clearly shocked. Shall we go inside, then? Charles suggested. Yes, let's, Laura replied, still trying to process what was happening. Prompted by Charles, we proceeded into the restaurant and were guided to a private room. What's going on here? Laura whispered to me, still confused. Don't rush, you'll understand soon, I whispered back, making sure Charles didn't hear. Once inside the private room and after the attendant had left, I prepared my business card. It was time to clear up the confusion. Here is my business card, I said, handing it to Laura. What? Really? Laura's eyes widened as she looked at the card. It read, Scott Murphy, head of Bloom Dining Food Research Department. You asked earlier if there was a place that would hire me. Well, I was picked up by your major client, I said with a smile. Laura's face turned increasingly pale. After leaving that company, I had contacted Charles. I had known Charles for a while and had previously received an invitation from him. I'm glad you joined us, Scott, Charles said. Thank you. I look forward to working with you. The pleasure is ours. We're grateful to have someone with your talents join us. We'll be counting on you. Yes, I'll do my best. So I joined Bloom Dining and took on the responsibilities entrusted to me. Just like at my previous company, my work was recognized, leading to a smooth promotion to my current position as the head of the department. Is that really possible? Laura mumbled, still in disbelief. Is something the matter? I asked. No, it's nothing, she replied, shaking her head with a pale face. She couldn't believe that the person she had deemed incompetent and fired had now become the head of a department in a major corporation. It can't be right. You are the incompetent, gloomy one. Laura was stunned. What am I supposed to do now? She whispered to herself. The reality that her business negotiation partner was someone she had ridiculed and treated poorly, and the fact that her company was now in a weaker position, seemed to overwhelm her. It was a complete reversal of our previous situation when she had fired me. Now, it was time to see her skills in business. So well, she stammered. How are things going with this matter? Charles asked. Laura seemed unable to deliver her usual smooth sales pitch, glancing at me often, still shocked by the earlier revelation. Eventually, she left the meeting in disarray. Did you know Laura? She seemed quite concerned about you, Charles asked after we saw her off. Actually, she's the one who fired me from my previous job, calling me a gloomy incompetent. Really? Charles responded, clearly surprised. I then shared the whole story of my previous job with him. What a rude person she is, Charles said, sounding indignant, as if it were a personal insult. Regarding this deal, I don't want to work with such a disrespectful person in the future. Let's get someone else to handle it. Yes, let's proceed with the negotiations once the representative is changed. All right, I'll make sure to communicate that, I assured him. Charles and I decided to request a change of representative from Laura's company. Given our company's stronger position, it was likely that Laura would face some repercussions. Later on, a former colleague filled me in about what happened with Laura at her company. The executives confronted her, asking, "What do you mean by changing the person in charge as a manager?" It turns out the sales staff who had been putting up with her behavior reported her past actions to the executives, including the incident where she fired me. They told her, "We have refrained from reprimanding you because you're from an affiliated company, but this time we will have to report back to your parent company." The look on Laura's face was ashen. Is that so? Thanks for letting me know. Not at all. I owe you, Scott, my former colleague replied, smiling and relieved at how things had turned out. Sometime later, I got a call from the executives of my former company. "Scott, would you consider coming back to us?" they asked. Apparently, they were rethinking my employment. After I left, the work I did in the sales department was reevaluated, and there was a noticeable decline in the department's performance, prompting an investigation. I had been researching long-term business strategies for clients, staying up to date with recent trends and explaining these in a clear way to the sales team. I also advised on sales strategies, which is why I was always at my computer. Besides that, I was checking the financial status of all our business partners and managing the accounts receivable to make sure they didn't become bad debts. I would meet with representatives from current and potential clients to gather information, often over drinks. I was uncovering hidden needs in other companies and providing feedback to the sales team. That's why I dressed well after work, which made transitioning to major corporations easier. You really did significant work. You're in demand everywhere, aren't you? Not really, but I do get to see various companies because of it. How about this? We can offer you more than double your previous salary. Double my previous salary would be a substantial amount, but I said, I'm sorry, I can't trust a company that tolerated her behavior to such an extent, and I'm happy with my current job. With that, I ignored their plea to reconsider and declined the offer to return. I heard our manager came for negotiations for us. Charles is our director now. Oh, my apologies. Michael was the first to approach me with this news. When I was fired, Michael decided to switch to Bloom Dining and joined the sales team after me. He had been with the previous company for many years, but had enough of dealing with Laura. He thought about moving to another company like I did. My firing was the trigger for him to join Bloom Dining. Interestingly, Charles, after hearing from me, was ready to hire Michael on the spot, but the dedicated Michael went through a formal interview to join our team. Originally a talented salesman, Michael now excels at Bloom Dining too. Scott, please listen. Calm down, Helen, I said. Helen, a female employee from my former department who cried when she learned I had left, still seemed to admire me. I've been assigned the research tasks you used to handle. Can you teach me? Really? Taking over the tasks from a company I left is, please, I really want to improve our sales. Despite my hesitation, I was moved by Helen's eagerness and decided to teach her. So this is how it works. Yes, that's how it works. Our relationship resembled that of a teacher and student due to the age difference. We're really like teacher and student. Yes, it would be something like this if I had a student. Thank you, Professor. Teach me too, Professor. Please don't call me that, Brian. When we met occasionally for lessons, another former colleague, Brian, wanted to join, eager to learn my sales techniques. I thought, with these two, that company will be okay. I was relieved to see them positively trying to learn, just like before. They could form a great team, much like Michael and I did in the past. As for Laura, she ended up returning to her original company as a regular employee. However, her lavish lifestyle and love for drinking couldn't be supported by her regular salary, so she secretly started working at nightclubs. But moonlighting was against her company's rules, and once they found out, she was fired. Now, Laura is struggling to attract clients because of her haughty attitude, and she isn't earning much. It's a sort of poetic justice, a case of cause and effect. I saw her looking rough in downtown recently. She caused a lot of trouble for others, so now it's her turn to face difficulties. Laura, who once fired me, now faces her own set of hardships. She wouldn't have thought this would happen back then. She even contacted me using the business card I gave her. Could you hire me at Bloom Dining? She asked. That's impossible. At least contact Michael, I told her. She contacted me too many times and was becoming a nuisance, so I passed her messages to Michael. He replied, I'm sorry, but I'm not interested in people like you, and frankly, I dislike you. Please don't contact me or my colleagues in the future. To be honest, I don't want to hear from you again. Michael clearly refused her, and after she kept trying to reach out to him, Michael contacted his lawyer. She was then placed under a restraining order and could no longer approach him. Being popular can be troublesome, but I never wanted this kind of attention. Michael and I had worked together at one of the companies during my job-hopping days. He had been engaged, but after his fiancée died in a car accident, he remained single. Since then, he understood the nature of my work and began relying on me. Now, he's thriving as a skilled senior in sales. Meanwhile, I'm grateful to be using my skills at Bloom Dining, where I conduct research with a more generous budget than before. Thanks to my efforts, Bloom Dining's default rate decreased significantly, and we were able to understand our clients' needs in more detail, leading to increased contract rates. It was definitely the right decision to bring you on board. You've made a significant difference, Charles said. I'm glad to be of service to the company. Everyone praises you. They said contracts became much easier to secure because you identify the needs so precisely. That's good to hear. I just did what I could. I'm really glad I joined this company. Meanwhile, back at my former company, I heard that Helen had taken over my research tasks and was doing a great job. Brian informed me her research skills are second only to yours, Scott. Is that so? She did learn quickly. When I was teaching her, I thought, I can't let her outdo me. Brian chuckled, feeling motivated by the competition. It seems they've become good motivators for each other, and their research efforts have helped stabilize the sales department. Helen is like Scott's student. Her methods are just like yours. And you, Michael, you've been teaching Brian, right? That's true. While I was teaching Helen, Michael also gave advice to Brian whenever he could. Looks like it's time for a generational shift. Maybe, but since we're at different companies, we'll stay rivals for a while longer. Indeed, we can't afford to lose. Flashy jobs are easily noticed from the outside, but the supportive roles behind the scenes are just as important for a company's growth. While some in sales secure contracts, it's the administrative staff who provide crucial support. Cleaners keep the office and common areas tidy, contributing to the overall function. An organization can grow because it has employees fulfilling various roles. It's often unclear who is doing what and how they contribute to the work. However, it's important to approach each role without prejudice and strive to understand the contribution of each member. Leaders, especially,